Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of this replay. Marauders now fighting down, able to take down a lot of those units. Banshee's coming in to try to focus down these units as well. Banshee's going to go ahead and pull back, but however those missile turrets making a couple of those kills off. As I try to focus down these units, he has a Banshee as well, so that Banshee however going to get taken down fairly easily. Missile turrets now dealing damage to those Vikings, and now that he lost both of those Vikings, my 3 Banshees should be able to just run in. However, he still has one Viking sitting over here. So that one Viking trying to push in, moving back onto that high ground. SCV is still on auto repair, trying to heal up the rest of these units. I believe I start building an orbital command here, as even I can start using a mule call down and try to grab these locations as well. I know that perhaps he has set up an expansion, but I know that he's not fully ahead of me in terms of worker count, just because of the amount of army he has. He's been able to consistently produce units throughout the game, as opposed to being able to explode or try to macro up a lot of units all of a sudden. I should probably be sending the rest of these SCVs to work once again. Having a lot of idle SCVs never a good sign. And Swampass saying well played so far. And Marauder for some reason running into there headlong and getting killed by just mass Marines. So Marines getting macroed up and then once again moving on out. Cloak, do I use Cloak on those Banshees? No, still no Cloak on those Banshees as those Vikings and units continue to push on out. And now I'm getting some Siege Tank with Siege Tech, getting some additional Vikings as well, trying to figure out how I'm going to get some additional gas. I have a bunch of Harvesters now, 31 Harvesters fully saturating this mineral line, as now Marines now perhaps wanting to push in as well. So a single Siege Tanks, a couple Marines, and probably going to go ahead and sit in this position, be able to protect me a little bit better. Going to go ahead and move. Why do I move? Oh, building an additional barracks as well for double Marines, as I'm still sitting on a fairly large amount of minerals. My opponent Swampass not sitting on that many minerals, but he does have a larger army, and my APM's just not very good in this particular matchup. A lot of downtime in between these fights as I'm trying to figure out my strategy, what I really want to do, and I'm going to go ahead and move out with Siege Tanks. So Siege Tanks, he now has a very strong Viking army, not as many Banshees as me. So when those Vikings try to come in, I should be able to push on out. More Siege Tanks being produced as well, I believe. Yeah, going to be training an extra Siege Tank with those Banshees and Marines, trying to take my natural expansion as well, as he's already mining out of his natural. He is mining more minerals than me, and also getting some Thors as well. So getting some barracks, trying to get a proxy barracks down in order to be able to push out on me. I'm now getting some SCVs, and now in comes this fight. So a single Siege Tank doing a little bit of an engagement, and I'm trying to get these Marines to try to take down some of these units. A Thor now trying to focus down that Banshee, but not really going to work out all too well. Viking now continuing to chase my Viking and my Banshees. More Marines being macroed up. No stim pack, no additional research on those units, as those Vikings now perhaps going to try to land on that backside, getting a couple quick hits. One of my Banshees once again getting taken down. And now, if they try to land, that's going to be a really devastating mistake, as those Siege Tanks will be able to make short work out of those units. And now pulling back out, Marines were able to get in a couple more shots. And Swampass now taking significant losses. Building these missile turrets on this edge, not the best idea, as I'm able to just continue firing now. I have Vikings in the air. He lost his Banshee, and now a Thor in position taking another shot from that Siege Tank. Siege Tanks now being trained up more. Main base has nearly been mined out so far. A couple of missile turrets over here. Supply depot. Swampass trying to build in my base just because he already has a couple units here. So Siege Tank quickly making short work out of that bunker. So Swampass realizing he cannot build any bunkers or any additional buildings here. More Marines being macroed up. I believe I start producing medevacs at Starport. Yeah, Starport there in order to produce Vikings and medevacs. More Marines being pumped out, so training up 4 Marines at a time. And now Swampass getting the level 2 weapons upgrade on his units as well. However, I'm trying to change up my units more with Siege Tanks and Marines. Siege Tanks, Marines, a classic StarCraft 1 unit combination. He has stores, marauders, and medevacs, but I'm able to just continue to push out with these units. a Banshee coming in to perhaps try to take down some of my units. Am I researching Cloak? Yeah, Cloak has now finished being researched, and an engagement here, but a quickly cloaked Banshee, or two cloaked Banshees. He does have a Raven in the area, so he was able to deal some damage. However, mass Marines making short work out of that last store, and because of this, all he really has left are missile turrets, and missile turrets trying to take down that last Banshee. Luckily, I was able to keep both of my two Banshees alive and continue to keep this army. I'm going to move over two of those Banshees, continue to repair these very expensive units. They take a long time to build. One of those barracks now getting taken down as well. So mass Marines, medevac, and siege tanks once again on the move. Swampass now sitting on a 900 minerals per minute compared to my 320, and still a lot of idle SCVs, so my resources were definitely behind. However, moving in with these units, I'm gonna move in with these Marines. My Marines are upgraded 1-0 against these units that have not been upgraded at all. Gonna make short work out of this orbital command, as mass Marines are able to take down orbital commands fairly easily, down to 253, except for some reason I do not continue to try to push on here. Vikings on that high ground, siege tanks on that low ground, continuing to push up, trying to break this front door. And now in comes that Thor, but however that Thor gonna get taken down, so the mass Marine army just making its way through, pushing down, taking down a lot of these units. Taking down all of these production buildings as well. Siege tanks moving on up, but however the Vikings are able to start focusing down those units as focusing down that starport as well. I perhaps should have brought some SCVs over. There's one Banshee being left behind. However, Swampass also getting a planetary fortress at this high yield gold mineral location. I'm only mining at 560, so my macro definitely needs to improve. I'm lifting off with this orbital command and trying to grab this natural expansion over here as I continue to move out with these Marines. Marines without stim packs or combat shields. Yeah, it must be some yeah, I was gonna try to make a joke, but yeah, whatever. And Marines continue to move on out, making short work of these supply depots and continuing to just roll over the rest of this army. Swampass now getting mass starports and trying to perhaps macro up more Banshees once again. He's sitting on 1,000 minerals and 700 gas, so he is fairly strong at this stage in the game, trying to macro up the largest army that he possibly can. I have some medevacs in the air, so I will be able to start doing a drop on his main base, also building a command center at the high yield mineral location, and starting to mine out of this particular the high ground natural expansion. Sitting on 30 harvesters, only 800 minerals a minute, not the best macro by any means. Sitting in with a single Banshee, the Banshee trying to take down some of these buildings before those turrets got up, and now gonna go ahead and just drop down some additional units. A quick bunker being dropped into position as well. That planetary fortress trying to focus down these Marines. That little bit of a splash damage killing those units fairly easily. However, that planetary fortress already down to 200 hit points will get taken down. I should be able to siege up momentarily. SCV still repairing, trying to repair, and now Vikings coming into position. So that Viking able to take down that last medevac, as this Viking now perhaps wanting to land. Gonna go ahead and cloak my Viking, or cloak my Banshee, and able to take down that Viking. Another Banshee comes into position, however, so that one Banshee will be able to take down these units. Swampass is claiming to not be a very good Terran player, as he is he did play random on me, so that those destructible rockets getting quickly taken down. A Viking now moving over, perhaps trying to take down this Banshee, but with no missile turret, he will not be able to get any sight. Moving over with my Marine in order to kill that last SCV to prevent him from building a missile turret. I should be able to just clear up the rest of the game with the Banshee, and Swampass says GG. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay here on Steps of War, Terran versus Terran matchup.